and looking at those individuals who have
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for Brigadier General Hogg. Hey everybody, good afternoon. Take your seats, please. Good afternoon, how are you all doing? Good. Thanks for being here. I see a mix of uniforms. Army, Air Force, and civilian, and that's what this is all about. My name is Brigadier General Sean Bagby. I'm the Deputy Command and General Support for the Navy Command. Welcome to the January 2020 assembly of the MedCom Leadership Lecture Series. Start out by saying that the purpose of this is to bring senior leaders from across DoD and others to come share their wisdom, to come share their story, and talk about their insights with you. And the most important part of this is to ask good questions, because you get the dialogue going. So today it's my sincere honor to introduce to you Lieutenant General Dorothy Hogg, the Air Force Surgeon General. She hails from Portland, Maine, started her career out as an Air Force nurse, and then clearly has led at every level from tactical to strategic, and is now the Air Force Surgeon General. And we look forward, ma'am, to hearing your story and having a great dialogue. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Whoa. Wow. Okay. So I have to say, I'm not contagious. At least that's what they tell me. So if I start coughing, I'll put my hand over here so you don't have to hear that. But I've had the crud for the past 2 weeks. So, you know, just like you guys, we get it too. And I don't do anything little. I do a lot of things big. Hi. I have to say hi to that person because she was the exec when I was at AFMC, and she kept me out of trouble. But anyhow, it's a real honor to be here today, and I'm excited to talk to you. And I'm really more excited to kind of get your questions because I think that's where we do a lot of the dialoguing and learning. And you know, when I was asked, when General Dingle asked me to come do this, I was like, "You want me to talk? What? I don't know if I have anything to say." You know, and he said, "Oh yeah, you sure you have stuff to say?" And I said, "Okay." So let me just give you a little bit about me and who I am, and maybe a little bit about what my leadership ethos has been. And then I really, really want to hear what you guys think and maybe some of the questions that you have. So yes, I started out as a civilian nurse, actually. My husband was active duty when I met him. He was enlisted. You know, that's always a fun story because, you know, he stayed in for 20 years. And, you know, you don't. Officer enlisted don't mix, right? And so, you know, my husband would say, you know, people would come up to him and say all the time, he says, "Oh, you let your wife be an officer?" And my husband would say, "I don't let my wife do anything." You know, so that was a real funny story. So when I decided to come into the military, my dad was active duty, so I'm a military brat, moved all over the world. And when I decided to go to college, I said, I am not coming in the military. You know, because I want a family, you know, I want a career, and I just didn't think being in the military was going to get me there, right? So I really had no sights on coming in the military. And then I met my husband, who was active duty, and he got his first assignment to PCS, to another base, and I was like, what? I'm going to have to start all over again? What's up with that? So I said, well, what the heck? Let's go check. And so the first time we went over to the recruiter to talk about me coming into the military, no kidding, this is what was said. The recruiter, we sat down with the recruiter, and she looked at us and she goes, "You know, you're going to make more money than your husband." Okay, that sounds good to me. You know, and so she goes, "Are you gonna open separate bank accounts?" Separate bank accounts? I said, "Well, no, because what's mine is mine and what's his is mine, so it doesn't matter." So that was quite, I was like, I just don't think that way, right? I was like, well, you know, my money, his money, it's our money, so no big deal. And I thought, well, you know, that was a 3-year commitment, staying for 3 years. If I don't like it, get out. And, you know, no skin off our noses. We'll start all over again, right? Here I am, 37 years later, okay? And I always ask people when I talk to them, I said, what made you come into the military? And a lot of people think, well, it's patriotism, and, you know, I want to serve my country. And for some of it, it is. But really, a wise chief once told me, when I asked him that question, he said, you know, the first 4 years, I was in the Air Force. After that, the Air Force was in me. And that's really what happened. You know, the first 3 years, I was in the Air Force. I was there selfishly because, you know, it was about me at that point in time. And then after that, it really wasn't about that. It really was about working with the people that I've had the honor and the privilege to work with each and every day. And the caliber of people that just made me a better person all the way around. So I came in as an OBGYN nurse, working labor and delivery nursery and inpatient. And then I got the opportunity to go to, at that time, it was a certificate program that the Air Force gave for me to be an OBGYN nurse practitioner. And boy, was that, wow, that was not a good thing at that time, because the nurses thought you were abandoning the nurse corps, and the doctors thought you were trying to scoop into their turf, right? So, you know, it was darned if you do and darned if you don't. But I was like, hey, that's what I want to do, so I'll do that. I remember my chief nurse at the time saying to me, Lieutenant Hogg, why do you want to, you know, be a nurse practitioner, OBGYN nurse practitioner? You know, you'll never make it past the grade of major. I was like, did she mean Major General, or did she mean Major? I'm not sure. So I'm like, okay, you know, and again, my attitude is, okay, you know, we'll see, you know, whatever happens, happens. If I don't make it past major, no big deal, right? So I graduated, at that time it was a 10-week didactic program and an 8-week practical. And now people out there would go, what? You became a practitioner after that? I didn't get my master's till I had been practicing as a practitioner probably for about 10 years probably. And so I went and was practicing as a women's health nurse practitioner, loved it, enjoyed it. I loved seeing patients. I still love seeing patients. And you know, my husband would say to me all the time, you need to branch out and do bigger things. And I said, no, I'm going to see patients for the rest of my life. I love it. It's what I want to do. That's where we'll be, right? And so I did that the majority of my career till when I became a major. And one of my mentors pulled me aside and said, you need to do something else. And I said to myself, I can't do something else. I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And they gave me the opportunity to be a section squadron commander. We had section squadron commanders at that time where the officer was over all of the enlisted. And there was a 4-month gap, and they said, do you want to do that? And I'm like, okay, I'll try. And so I did that, and that was eye-opening. And then mentors continued to say, well, I think you need to be a flight commander, then squadron commander, then group commander. And you just keep kind of going up from there. Never, you talk to some people and they'll tell you, you know, if you say to someone, I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Some people will say right off the bat, I want to be the Surgeon General. right? When I mentor some people, I say, you know, what's in your sights? So I want to be you when I grow up. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that when I was growing up. I was like, I just want to do what I'm doing and do it the best that I can do, right? I had smart people who saw something in me and gave me those opportunities to shine as a leader. And that's really what it's about, is all of you seeing those people that work with and for you, and looking at those individuals who have the qualities and giving them the opportunity to shine. That's really what it's about. We all know in the enterprise that the enterprise looks for certain things. And for me, and I already warned your boss, I'm pretty transparent. I sometimes, well, I haven't gotten myself in trouble too much lately, but there's always the first time. So, you know, the enterprise always looks at things that they will define as a leader. And for the Air Force, there's 3 things that they look at that they think makes a good leader. One is what we call below the zone promotions. Do you guys have that? You call them below the zone promotions? Okay. We're getting rid of those, by the way. We're doing away with those come this year with the promotion boards. Going to in-residence professional military education, right? And then successful commands. So out of those 3, what do I have? I have 1, right? I've never been promoted below the zone. I've always been promoted in the zone. I did not go to professional military education in residence. Opportunities for nurses are very small. I only get a couple slots a year. So that means, you know, do I only have 2 great people in the nurse corps that could be potential leaders? No, I have a whole lot more, right? But command, I guess I had successful commands. And so what I tell people all the time when they come and ask me, you know, what do they need to do to be me? And the first thing I tell them is do a great job wherever you're planted, okay? You need to do the best job that you can in every job that anybody gives you, because that really, for me, job performance is number 1. You know, what do you do to make it better? What do you do to take care of the people? What do you do to maximize the resources that you have? So doing the best job that you can where you're planted is number 1 in my book. Now, yes, you still need to pay attention to the things that the enterprise tells you is important. So you need to make yourself competitive, continue to make yourself competitive to be perhaps chosen to go to in-residence PME, perhaps chosen to be promoted below the zone. But when you get to that point, you don't get to make that decision. Someone else gets to make that decision, okay? So for me, it's really about job performance and being willing to step outside the box and take some risk and make things better. So a lot of people will say to me, well, General Hogg, how did you get to where you're at today? and I go, I don't know. I honestly, again, never was looking to be the Corps chief. As a matter of fact, my wing commander, when I was the group commander at Beale, brought me in one time for our annual mentoring session, and he said to me, hey, Dot, what's the chances of you being the next Corps chief, the nurse Corps chief? And I just laughed at him. He's like, why are you laughing at me? I said, well, because I don't have what the Air Force seems to think is, what a good leader is. And then, below zone promotion and residence PME, that kind of stuff. So what I tell people today is don't count yourself out, ever count yourself out in any opportunity. If you don't try, then you're closing the door yourself, right? Keep the door open. If someone else wants to shut it, there'll be then another door that opens down the road. Keep yourself competitive. Do the things you know you need to do, but and take those risks in things that maybe you're not so sure you could do. There's plenty of things that people said, hey, Dot, I want you to go do this. And I went, are you sure? I don't know anything about that. And like, yeah, you can do it. Come on. I'm like, okay, I'm always up for a challenge. I'll try it. You know, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're not going to do well, right? And they'll go, well, that wasn't such a good idea. Maybe we should send you someplace else. And the other thing is it, you know, it's not just you. It's not just you. You got a lot of other people around you. If you think that you're the only one that has to do what you need to be doing, then you're going to have a hard road to go, right? So I have 3 leadership ethos that I have lived by for a long time. John Maxwell, who knows John Maxwell? Yeah, I read almost every one of his books. Now I'm expanding my horizons. I'm in the process of reading Dare to Lead. And Simon Sinek. Who's read Simon Sinek's new book, The Infinite Game? Read it. Read it. It's amazing. I'll talk to you a little bit about it. That's how I improve myself as a leader, is I read books that other people have written. And I go, wow, I didn't think about that. That's a great idea, right? But these 3 leadership ethos, I had them for a long time. I just never knew what they were until I read John Maxwell's book. I said, oh, that's it. One is the law of significance, from the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, right? The law of significance says 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness. Okay. 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness. I'm going to blow your minds. I don't know everything. They're like, but you have 3 stars on. I don't know everything, right? And so I rely on people who know stuff that I don't know. And you're going to have to do that your entire career, because you will never know everything. And if you are OCD like me, that is really hard in the beginning. Because you're like, I got to know it all. I got to know it all. It's all, you know, I got to make sure that, you know, I come across as the smartest person out there. That took me a few years to figure out, hey, well, guess what? You're not ever going to know it all, right? And so I surround myself with people who know more than I do. Okay? And I rely on them. I rely on them to give me the truth. You know, when we have our first chat, I say, don't sugarcoat things for me. I want the truth. I want the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm going to trust you until you prove to me that I can't trust you, right? So the law of significance is you need to surround yourself with people who know more than you do, who know the things that you don't know, and rely on their expertise to give you guidance, okay? The other one is the law of the bench. And the law of the bench is on every team, you have starters and you have bench warmers. And we as leaders have a tendency to continually go to our starters all the time, because we don't usually have to give them a whole lot of guidance. We don't have to watch what they're doing. They're just great people. They get things done, right? And that's great. But you also have other members on the team that are, you know, for lack of a better word, bench warmers. You know, they haven't developed into starters yet. But if you don't ever try to develop them into starters, what's going to happen is your starters are going to move on to someplace else, and all you're going to have is bench warmers. And you've not developed them into being starters. Now, will all of them be starters? Probably not. But if you don't try to mentor them into those starting positions, you're never going to know. And then if you're always going to the starters, you're going to burn them out. You know, very quickly they're going to go, what else do you want me to do, right? So it takes a little more time with the bench warmers. You got to give them a little more guidance. You have to bring them in a little bit more often to make sure that they're moving forward. But in the long run, that is going to prove dividends for you, because number one, you'll grow new starters. Number two, you'll find out who the bench warmers are. But guess what? They have a skill, and you need to utilize their skill. Okay, you know, every team, every good team, you know, the starter doesn't play the whole game. Sometimes they'll put one of their bench warmers in because they have a skill that will overcome one of the deficits they have, which leads them to win the game. So you have to develop your entire team, or else you're going to have a flat team, and then you're going to lose your starters because they're going to move on to bigger and better things. Someone's going to pay them more money, and then you're going to have a flat team. So you have to grow all members on your team. Every member has value. Every member has value. Okay? They might not be that gold star starter, but they have value. They have a skill that's going to make the organization better. Okay? And then the last one is the law of the bad apple. And that's all about attitude. I don't own your attitude. Only you own your attitude. Now, I can do things that might make you happy or mad or sad or glad or, something like that. But how you respond is up to you. And there's nothing in the organization that will bring an organization down quicker than somebody that has a bad attitude. So I'm really, I am pretty quick to identify where I think somebody has a bad attitude. But I don't just assume that it's a bad attitude, because there could be a whole lot of other things going on, right? So, somebody that you think might have a bad attitude, you could go up to that person and go, hey, what the heck's going on? Debbie Downer, every time I talk to you, the sky has fallen 3 times and, the sun's never coming up again. What's going on? And then all of a sudden that person just kind of goes, blah, the dog died, and, I'm going through a divorce, the kids are sick, whatever. And you go, oh my gosh, right? You really need to kind of dig a little bit deeper when it goes to the attitude part of it. But then there are some people who just have bad attitudes. And you need to confront them, and I have and I do. I'm like, hey, if you don't want to work on my team, I can find you another team to work for. I'm okay with that. I know everybody doesn't like the way I do business. That's fine. So if there's a team you'd rather be on than here, let me help you get on that team. Okay? But I'm not going to have you here bringing down this team who's doing great work. Okay? So law of the bad apple. Let's see, what else? So I think as a leader, one of the most important things I think that you all are going to have to really learn to navigate and deal with, and that's going to be change. Like, we're not going through change right now, right? Just, just a little bit, not a whole lot. But change, I think, is the hardest thing. I know it's been one of the hardest things for me. And so I've been in the DC area for 5 years now. I've gone through every position in the headquarters staff in the Air Force Medical Service. I guess I couldn't keep a job. I wasn't sure. I started out as the nursing corps chief and SG1 in manpower. And then I went to SG3-5 in medical ops. And then I became the deputy surgeon general, and now I'm the surgeon. And so in those 5 years, I have seen so much change. And sometimes I just like, would you guys just stop for a minute and let us catch our breath? So, we could, make some significant progress here. But I think change is probably the one thing that you all have to navigate as leaders. And you can't ignore it, because it's still going to happen. So what I tell people all the time is, we need to shape the change. We don't have to like it. We don't have to agree with it. But once a decision has been made, our responsibility is to shape that change. So with the NDAA 17 and the Defense Health Agency and all of those kinds of changes that came on, I tell people all the time, if you're the decision maker, then you get to make the decision and go from there. But if you're not the decision maker, then your job is to present the facts of the pros and the cons of any decision that's trying to be made. And then once it's made, your job is to shape it. Don't stick your head in the sand like an ostrich, because when you pull your head up out of the sand, the change will still have happened and you won't know where you're at. Okay? So that's what I've been trying to do this whole time, and quite honestly, the other surgeon generals and even the Defense Health Agency, we're trying to shape that change so that we can make it the best that it can be moving forward. And will we get it right? You know, probably not. And it's going to take years for that to happen. But I will guarantee you that you'll start down a path and then something else, NDA 21 will come out and put you in a different position or a different direction. And so the navigating change and dealing with change is for me, the most important thing that you can learn to do. Don't take it personal, okay? Don't take it personal. It's not about you, okay? It's not about you. It's about our leaders thinking that they have a better idea, even though we told them it probably wasn't. But, you know, they still get to make the decision, right? And so we have to shape it. We gave the facts. The year that they decided to do this, I can't tell you how many people testified in front of Congress. The SGs, the DSGs, that was the first time the DSGs ever testified in front of Congress. You know, CEOs of healthcare organizations, MTF commanders, you know, everybody and their brother testified in front of Congress. So Robin Sharma is I think he's a philosopher. But he has a saying that goes like this: change is hardest in the beginning, messiest in the middle, and easiest at the end. Right? And so right now we're in the middle, and it's really messy. But we're making progress. You would think after about 3 years we should be making progress. And we're making progress, but still slow, still not perfect. But as leaders, you have to keep your individuals energized. And moving forward. It's not always easy. It's okay to be open and honest. In my opinion, I am all the time. I don't like this any more than you do, but you know, let's shape it. Let's try to make it the best that we can make it. That's really what we need to be doing. And then, you know, John F. Kennedy also said in one of his speeches, you know, change is a fact of life. If you only focused on the past or the present, you're going to miss the future. And this is the future. This is the time for us to really try to make a difference. We have been given we've been given an opportunity to redesign the military health system. I don't know about you guys, but I can tell you when I was growing up, when I was a little captain or lieutenant in my, you know, seeing my patients, and they would come to me and say, Captain Hogg, you need to go do your gas mask testing. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? You want me to deliver peace care? You know, peacetime health care, or you want me to go to wartime? Which one do you want me to do, right? Well, guess what? They told us what they want us to do. They want us to do readiness. They want us to do readiness. They're going to give delivery of the benefit to the Defense Health Agency. I'm okay with that. Now, I need to help them because they don't know how to do that. What was DHA before it became DHA? TMA, right? What did they do? Policy, contracts. Do they know how to manage MTFs? That's not their fault, right? So we got to help them. Do we know how to manage MTFs? Yeah, we're pretty good at it. Not perfect, but we're pretty good at it. So let's help them learn how to manage those MTFs. Okay, so that's where I'm at with everything that's going on up at the headquarters right now. Gave me an opportunity to refocus my efforts on strictly readiness. You know, what do I need to be doing to have ready medics and ready airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines? Because you know we're taking care of everybody, right? So. That's a little bit about me and my leadership ethos and the way I kind of see things. So what's on your mind? What questions do you have? Don't everybody stand up at once. Yes?
Hey, Chris Rainey, Metcom G89.
Oh.
So, ma'am, Chris Rainey, Medcom G89. Quick question, as you're talking about your career and leader development and all the changes, the messiness we're going through, I think one of the things we're struggling with not only our military but our civilian is what advice to give our junior leaders in terms of opportunities with the DHA and the different opportunities there might be there in terms of shaping the future, as you said, but how are you advising first your military and then your civilian employees in terms of taking advantage of that or how that fits into their career paths?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. So, junior leaders and the opportunities that the DHA will bring. So again, transparency. I'll tell you, I struggle with that because I see my uniformed medics, which includes my uniformed civilians, as doing, not all of them, but some of them doing readiness, right? And so does putting my leaders, my airmen into the positions at the DHA make them ready or readier to do their readiness mission? I don't know. So, so I've sort of been on the fence about that, but I will tell you that we are going to need to put some of our expertise into the Defense Health Agency. Otherwise, they're not going to grow. And they won't be able to take over the full requirements of authority, direction, and control of those MTFs. And so junior leaders, junior airmen definitely we need, and we've been told we have to, right? So DHA just published their JMD this week, I think, like Monday or Tuesday we got a hold of it. And so for the Air Force, I have like 400 positions in the DHA. Now I'm going through that because some of those like, I don't think so, you know. So yeah, I think that will be a good career broadening kind of assignment for them to get a peek into what it's like to still be managing treatment facilities. So our civilians, you know, if they are strictly healthcare related civilians, they're going to become DHA or DOD, I think, DOD civilians, right? And they won't work for the services anymore. Now, I have some civilians who do readiness missions for me. They're going to stay with me on the service side because that's what I need them to do. And so where it gets a little more fuzzier for me is at the upper echelons, right? The 06 and maybe even GO level. In the Air Force, I have 10 GO positions, 1 3-star, 3 2-stars, and 6 1-stars. Every one of them except one is doing a readiness mission for me. They're either MAGCOM surgeons, like regional command surgeons, doing readiness missions for me. There's only one that I can think of that is strictly doing probably a health benefit mission. So I've struggled with that. Now the other thing is you know, DHA director, that's a nominative position. So if you want to be competitive for that position, you're going to have to be doing something in the DHA, and you need to start low and go high, right? So that's the other thing that I think that we need to think about. If I want to make sure that I have a competitive person to be considered for the DHA director from the Air Force, as I'm sure Army and Navy will want to do, then I'm going to have to grow those individuals, and they're going to have to go up the echelons in and out of the DHA construct for them to be competitive, right? To be able to compete for the position. So we're going to have to, we got to collaborate. We're going to have to collaborate and make sure that we're working together as a team. Now, the curveball that they threw us was the reductions in the MILPERS, right? So in the Air Force, they took 4,684. Really? 4,864 people. 4,684, right? Why not 4,600? Why not 4,500, right? But they went 4,684. So that was because when we did our critical operational readiness requirements assessment, it identified that I had 4,684 airmen in blue suits that I didn't need for the operational mission. Okay? So they took it all. I'm like, well, that was a dumb thing, but okay. You know, I did my part. I tried to shape the decision by going, I wouldn't recommend that. Here's why. Here's the risks. Now, guess what? They're dealing with that now because NDAA 20 said, you know, not so much, right? Slow down. And so now my line is going, oh, crap. What do I do now? I'm like, I tried to tell you. So yeah, so they took away my capability. It doesn't hurt, that 4684 doesn't hurt my ability to do my readiness mission. If you believe that my assessment was correct and nothing's going to change, I ran, you know, but they also took away my fluff to be able to change if needed, but they also took away the capability to deliver the benefit. Those people were delivering the benefit. And, you know, again, not DHA's, not, you know, we like to say, oh, DHA's problem. It ain't DHA's problem. It's our problem, right? So we need to help DHA grow their expertise. And we're only going to do that by helping them staff some of their positions. And again, you know, I have some people who are just doing health benefit delivery stuff, you know, anyhow, that they could definitely do that. But I think it's going to be an in and out. They can't stay in the DHA their whole career. So it's going to be go there for assignment, come back in, you know, and do a readiness, you know, mission. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Matt Messer Larson, Chief Paragould NCO, Medcom.
Wait, slow that down. What did you say?
Sorry. From Jersey, we talk fast.
I know.
So can you talk a little bit more about what you talked about earlier about being a decision maker and dealing with competing agendas? For instance, like your role as being the Air Force Surgeon General, making sure airmen and your folks are taken care of, face the long-term effects of making decisions that will impact DHA and making sure that they're successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I use this analogy all the time. Again, as you go up the leadership chain, your work is never going to be done. So if you're OCD, stop now. Okay? Because it will make you crazy. But your work will never be done. You can work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and you will never get done, okay? So I tell people, you have to know what your crystal balls are and what your rubber balls are, okay? And the crystal balls are those things you can't let drop, because if you let them drop, they're going to break. So you have to keep those balls in the air, and you have to figure out what those are and keep those moving forward. The rubber balls, let them fall. Let them fall. They'll bounce. They'll bounce for a good long time sometimes. Sometimes they stop bouncing. Right? Sometimes they just fall off the cliff and you go, well, that must not be important because nobody's asked me about it in 4 months. Right? And then you just kind of get that ball right off the field. But some of the other balls, you know, okay, they've stopped bouncing, but they are still, you know, you still need to do something about them. So pick them up when you have the chance and get them bouncing again, right? So you got to know what your priorities are. You have to set realistic expectations. You have to enlist the help of your people beside you, around you, above you, and under you. You will not be able to do it all. So you are going to have to let go of things and let other people give clear direction. Hey, we got this issue. This is, you know, this is the outcome I'm looking for. Go forth and multiply, my child. Right? You got to let it go. Okay? And you got to be able to have confidence that your staff is going to be able to carry that, help you carry that ball over the finish line. So that's kind of how I do things. Email. If I could blow up anything, it would be email. How many people reply to all? Stop! You drive me crazy! How many people reply, thanks? Stop! Because guess what? I have to open up the dang email just to go, copy, got it. So I've told my folks, stop doing that. It drives me crazy. I'm assuming if I sent you an email, you've read it, you got it. Okay? So, and if I open an email and I have to scroll through it, it's going to the bottom of the list. I've told people, kiss. Kiss. Keep it simple and short. I don't need to know the whole 5 years worth of stuff. Give me the bottom line up front, and then if it causes questions for me, then I'll ask those questions, right? But you know, I don't know what it is about people when they're emailing general officers. It's like they have to give them the thesis paper, right? It's like, I don't have time for thesis papers. Just give me the bluff. And then if it causes concerns or questions, then I'll ask, right? So that's been the hardest thing for me, and for me to help with my staff is, they think, everybody thinks, I gotta respond to the general officer, right? I'm like, I got it, guys. You're busy. I'm busy. If you're not emailing me, you got it. You got it, right? And and then if you didn't get it, and I don't get what I think I need, then I'll say, hey, what happened to that email I sent you? I said. So yeah. So priorities, and you got to be okay with knowing that you're not going to be able to do everything. That it just is. So. Yeah, I asked my exec. He knows. He's like, she's not going to want to read that. So, and answer the question, right? Just answer the question. So many times too, and I have to review these things, right? There'll be a question like, so how, I'll give you a silly little example. How many players were, on the field at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday? And I'll get an answer back like, well, the whole team has 150 people on it, and we train them, 5 days a week, and blah, 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 and never do they ever answer the question. It's an easy question. At 2 o'clock on Thursday, there were 5 people on the team, right? But when you give this kind of an answer, especially when you're giving it to Congress, what happens? What happens? More questions. Because you just gave them more information. They go, well, I didn't know that. Now I need to ask about this. Right? So just answer the question. But so many people want to give them a little bit more. Well, I got to give them a little bit more. No, just answer the question. Right? So, yeah. All right. Yes. Way back there.
Thank you. Ma'am, Jay Busey, Medcom Clinical Research. Ma'am, what exactly do we need the direct care system for at this point?
Okay, wait a minute. So, I would have to say, so usually my chief, you got my back? Okay, so I get, my chief is with me, and I always say to him when I'm about to say something that's probably not going to be popular, say, Chief, you got me? He goes, I got you, ma'am. I'm like, okay. I would say that right now, it doesn't do a whole lot of good for us. Well, that's not true. That's not true. But it's not great, right? And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. As a matter of fact, it's going to get less, right? Everybody knows that, right? If 703 goes through with the recommendations, many of our facilities will be active duty only clinics. Like, how is that going to keep us current? That's what the direct care system is for. is to keep our medics current, right? Now, you have to think of it on a continuum in my mind. I've got medics who need to know how to do point of injury care all the way through the entire spectrum. I call it the trauma continuum of care, right? To rehabilitation. And there are skills all along that continuum. So some people really need to know how to do damage control kind of care, and other people need just med-surg unit capability or rehab capability, that kind of stuff. So I had concerns before we talked about 703 and the ability of the direct care system to keep my medics current. And I have more concern now, but you know what? That's going to confound my problem even more because I won't be able to keep any of my medics current. At least today, I can keep some of my medics current in the lower acuity ends, like med-surg and stuff like that, by some of the capabilities that we have now. If I go down to mostly active duty only clinics, I'm not going to keep anybody current, right? So I'm going to have to send almost every one of my medics out to get currency. Now, the other reason for the direct care system was because the law years ago said that we're going to deliver a benefit to the dependents of active duty members, okay? So unless they change that law, which they've talked about doing for several years now. How many people remember, I call it the MIC-RMIC or MIC-RMIC, the modernization retirement study that came out in 14, I think. They talked about giving basic allowance, subsistence to active duty people for them to go out and buy their own health insurance. Now, I could see that rearing its head again in the near future, but that's really what the direct care system was for, right? So as all of us surgeons are doing, we're looking for different ways to keep our medics current, which is maximizing the direct care system as much as we can. BAMC, it's an awesome facility that has great capability, but you can't take care of all. How many, I got 30,000 medics. How many medics do you have? How many medics does the Navy have, right? And so we're going to have to think without the box and be innovative on how we take care of our medics and keep them current. So right now I'm looking at embedding whole, we call them UTCs, but our war capability units, right? CCATs in a civilian facility. The whole unit. And when they get their orders, it says to Chicago Memorial. Just an example. Haven't talked to Chicago Memorial yet. And they go 365. That's where they work, day in and day out. Now, a lot of people will say to me, well, but General Hogg, aren't you worried that you might lose some medics? I'm like, you know what? I'm worried I'm losing them now because they're not doing what they want to do. If you became a critical care nurse, a critical care doc, or a trauma surgeon, did you become that because you didn't like to do it? No. You thrive off that stuff. And what do I got you doing? The 3-star Air Force Surgeon General going to the urgent care clinic on Sunday because she's traveling on Monday and wants to make sure she doesn't have pneumonia. Whoop-de-doo, right? So if I can keep you doing what you love to do every day, I think I will lose less of you. Now, there are going to be a few that Chicago Memorial is going to go to. Hey, do I have a deal for you? You will never have to deploy again. Your kids, preschool to PhD, they can stay here in Chicago and, put down roots. And oh, guess what? I can pay you more money. Right? Okay, some people are going to take that. But I believe if I keep them doing what they love to do, because they love serving too, they really do, but they like doing their trade, that they'll stay in because, they're serving. They know that they're bigger than something that just themselves, but yet they're doing what they love to do each and every day. So we are going to have to think without the box and be innovative and partner with VAs, with, maximize the direct care system as much as we can. And that's not going to be a whole lot because, we don't have a whole lot. And then look to the civilian community to help us out. Because unless Congress, when they get the report, don't like what's in the 703 report, I think we're gonna be smaller, and it's not gonna help us at all. So, yeah. What else?
Ma'am, Sergeant Major Thomas, question. You mentioned earlier about shaping change. And as you just mentioned in that previous discussion, talking about how we're probably going to get smaller. How do you see the Army, Air Force, Navy, medical services working together on the operational side to improve readiness?
Yeah. Is this the purple question? I hate purple. I'm sorry, not really. No, I do like purple. All right, so now you're going to get my spiel on purple or not purple. To be purple or not to be purple, right? All right. And this is where my chief usually comes in handy. You got a leg, right? You got an upper leg and a foot. Each one of those has a mission to do. Navy, Air Force, Army, boots on ground. Laugh. But when you put those pieces together with a joint, they kick harder, they jump higher, they run faster. We've got to figure out how to do joint better. I don't want to. I like to flush my toilets. I'm just saying, right? And Navy, I get seasick. Don't put me on a ship. I'd be chumping the whole time. It would not be pretty, right? So I believe that each of the services brings a capability to the fight that the other service does not. So for Air Force, it's aeromedical evacuation. For Army, it's ground medicine. You guys do ground medicine better than anybody, right? And for the Navy, it's sea and undersea medicine. So what we got to do better is how do we put those together and make a machine that you just can't beat? So we've got to learn to do joint better. That's my thought. I've got to teach my Air Force medics, what it means to be an Army medic, what it means to be a Navy medic. That needs to start at the professional military education. I propose that we need a professional military medical education where, we start at, we call it SOS, Air Command and Staff, and Air War College, right? So at the Squadron Officer School, I want to teach my medics, how is the Army organized, trained, and equipped? How is the Navy organized, trained, and equipped? And do the very basics. And then at the next level, you teach a little bit deeper into, how things work. And then at the higher level, strategically, when you do deploy downrange, how does that work together, right? We've got to teach our medics now, not when they deploy. Because they spend the first 3 months kind of going, what did you say? Why are you doing that? But when they come back, they're smart. They got it. And we don't have to tell them how to be joint down there because they just do it, right? So I think, in my mind, we got to educate our medics. Army should be educating their medics. How's the Air Force organized, trained, and equipped? We're different. We're not better. We're just different, right? But because we're different, it's different, and so if you understand what those differences are, it makes it easier, right? And you're not trying to figure that out when you're in a deployed environment, So that's what we got to do. We got to do joint better. And I'm telling you right now, I am telling you, if we don't figure it out, Congress will figure it out for us. And I am tired of Congress telling me what to do, because they don't always got it right? So we have a new organization at the Joint Staff called the MedOps Dep Tank, where all the Deputy Surgeon Generals and the Joint Staff come together on a regular basis and talk about these joint issues. And what's Army doing, what's Navy doing, what's Air Force doing, and how come we're all doing the same thing? You know, can we do it better? Now, I don't want to tell you what size your ground surgical team should be, but maybe we ought to tell you, guess what? If you're going to have a ground surgical team, and I'm going to have a ground surgical team, and the Navy's going to have a ground surgical team, we're all going to use the same damn equipment, right? Because it can't be that different, right? So we need to figure out how to do that better, and we're working on it. We're not there, but we're working on it. So help us do that, okay? Yeah. Last question. And she's up in the front too. It's going to be really hard.
Ma'am, Carrie Klug. I just wanted to pull a thread. You talked about the medics understanding the Army, the Navy. Wasn't that the concept and theory of METC?
Oh, don't get me started on METC. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so, oh man. See, I knew it was going to be a hard question. It's not a hard question. I don't know if you want to. Okay, so METC. We have wasted so much money and so much time and so much resources for what? So when I came in as the Corps Chief, my additional hat was the METC stuff, right? And we got to figure out how to play together. We don't do that really well sometimes. Everybody, we're in the sandbox, but we go, my toy. You can't have my toy. I'm like, I don't want your toy, but I just want to play with it a little bit. That's all. I'll give it back, I promise. I don't want it. I just want to play with it a little bit because it's really cool. We got to figure out how to do that better. So METC, I always say METC. In my mind, METC was meant to consolidate, right? But I quickly get people telling me, oh, no, that's not what it was. It was only to co-locate. Well, what the heck? What good is that? Right? And then we've got all of us, not just Army, Navy, all of us going, yeah, our med tags, we're a little bit different, The way I take a blood pressure on the sea is way different than how you take really? Let me think this through. You put this thing around your arm. Well, today you push a button, right? And it goes, and is that different than on a plane, on a train, on a boat, on a Humvee? No, come on. So really what we got to get after, and I've been saying for years, we got to figure out what METC is going to be when it grows up. And in my mind, there is huge opportunity to consolidate training to a point. And then at that point, you diverge because there are service-specific things. And there should be service-specific things because we're different, because we have different missions. But we just have not gotten there because we're just too busy fighting over whose toy it is and whether or not I want to share it, right? So, as a matter of fact, that it's funny you bring that up because that's been a kind of a renewed interest of mine since right before the holidays. I was like, hey, I haven't heard a whole lot about what METC's doing. What the heck is METC? Anybody from METC here? Because I should have asked that before I said it. Because I was like, what the heck's going on with METC these days, right? So yeah, we've got to, we as leaders, as a Surgeon General, so I'm going to talk to my other surgeons and go, hey, well, let's talk about METC. We got to move this on, and I don't think that we're doing anybody any favors by trying to, protect turf, and we can make it way better than what it is. So just my 2 cents.
We have another window of opportunity, I promise.
Good.
We need to put that in the shaping METC.
She's says we have another window of opportunity, hey, I'm all ears. And we need to take it because, again, the reason why we get ourselves, before NDA 17 came out, Congress came to us and said, hey, guys, what could you do better? What did we tell them? We're good. Nothing. Hey, we got a 98% survival rate. What more do you want? I want 2 more %, right? And that's not what they were interested in. We were talking readiness. They were talking benefit. We didn't listen. Guess what? We're listening now. And we're doing stuff that, maybe we could have, if we had designed it ourselves, might have been a little bit better, right? So don't stick your heads in the sand. If someone asks you, how could you do it better? Tell them. Tell them. Okay? One more thing and then I'll get off the stage. What does Uber and Airbnb have in common? What? They what? They own nothing. Think about it. What your mom and your dad and your grandma tell you when you were growing up? Don't get into cars with strangers. What do you do? You get into cars with strangers. Oh, and by the way, you sleep in their beds. And you pay them for it. Right? Airbnb, Uber, disruptive innovation. Now some people argue with me, that's not really disruptive innovation. But in my mind it is. It's some poor, starving college student who said, hey, I got a car. I know how to drive. Why pay the taxi? I'll let him pay me, right? We have got to start thinking without the box in solving problems. Because if we continue to look at the way we've always solved problems, you're always going to get the same results. Okay? So, and I say without the box. Somebody go, no, you mean outside the box. I know, no, without the box. Without the box. Because when the times get tough, and I guarantee you they will get tough, what do you do if the box is still there? I go, hey, what was in that box? Wow, that looks kind of good. It was easy. Yeah, let's try that again. I can't tell you how many times people come to me with, oh my God, a problem we've had forever. They bring me a solution. It's the same solution I've heard for 20 years. And I say to them, hey, why do you think that's going to work today? Well, but we didn't really try it good enough the last time. Like, we've tried it for 20 years. What didn't we do good enough, right? Be bold, be brave, and take risk. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? It ain't going to work. And you're smarter because of it. And I guarantee you, it won't be the whole thing that doesn't work. It will be parts and pieces, right? Be bold, be brave, and take risk. Otherwise, we will never move forward from where we are today. Thanks. All right.
So, ma'am, on behalf of Lieutenant General Dingle and the entire command, I just want to say thank you for coming, taking time out of your schedule to share your story, your knowledge, and your wisdom with us in a way that I think was truly heartfelt and candid. So we really appreciate it. General Dingle has a gift for you. I understand he's going to give it to you when you get back to D.C.
Okay, tell him I like big things.
Big things. Lawyers hear that?